A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, as you know, there has been flooding and cyclone disasters in the state of Queensland. Samaritans Purse has been active in helping people to deal with the challenges and even sometimes with the trauma of recovery. Dan Stevens is with Samaritans Purse. He is Disaster Relief Manager for Australia. He's joining us. Hey, Dan, welcome along to 2020.
Hey, Neil. Thank you for having me.
Dan, Samaritans Purse really comes to the fore post-disaster because you've got teams and you've got volunteers. You've even got people flying in from all around the world who are ready to serve on the ground after disasters happen. It's a few weeks now since some of these disasters were really wreaking havoc in the state of Queensland, but you've still got teams and they're working on site.
Yeah, yes, we do. So, the disasters, when you see it on the news, especially these days, it feels like it just moves so quickly on to the next story and on to the next thing. But really, after these disasters come through, a cyclone or the flooding, it takes weeks, even months, sometimes even years for these communities to recover and to just get back on their feet again. And it's really in those weeks after when people are trying to figure out, what do we even do with the flooded house and the flooded contents, and how do we get back to life as normal, is where we found that our volunteers with Samaritans Purse can really come in and even help doing the small things, just come along beside them, let them know they don't have to do it alone, and really provide some really important recovery for people through those weeks.
It's almost as though when the news cycle for that particular disaster is over, people can feel forgotten because it takes more than a few days for most people to recover. If they've had loss of property, they've got insurance claims, things can take a long, long time. It really hits hard, doesn't it, for the individual? When I said you help with overcoming challenges, even sometimes people who are traumatized, that's not anywhere far from the truth, is it?
That's exactly right. Yeah, in that trauma, it's a cycle. And right after the disaster, what we find is communities are coming together. They're strong. They're resilient. They're helping one another. There's this energy and this adrenaline, and that usually lasts for about a week or two. And then it sets in of like, well, this is our new reality, and people start struggling with insurance and how to replace the car and the grant that may or may not be coming through, and that's when it can get really depressing, really hard, really traumatic for people. And you're right. The news it can move so quickly onto the next thing, and I think forgotten. That's I think that's the best word to describe it, is people in these situations can just feel like the world has moved on and forgotten, but they're still in the middle of a disaster, their lives, their family, the cleanup. And for them, it can take weeks, months to get through that.
Now, you've had this unbelievable flooding in Ingham in North Queensland. You got Hervey Bay that was hit by like a freak storm around the time of the cyclone. But then Gold Coast, you're working on the Gold Coast too, and they bore the brunt of Cyclone Alfred. You've been into all of these centres, haven't you, Dan?
Yeah, I have in the last few weeks, yeah.
So what are the people, what sort of response have you been getting from teams that have been helping people who are going through these tough times?
Yeah, so it's every place is a bit different, but one of the things I've learned in doing this disaster relief work for a number of years is that not to compare. You can't really compare. Every single person you see is having the worst day of their life in that moment. And what we want to do is just come in and try to help them through that phase. I'll tell you, when we were up in Ingham, Ingham's about an hour and a half north of Townsville, and it's a town that's used to flooding. Like, flooding happens there. People are fairly resilient, fairly used to it. But the flooding that happened there in February of this year was worse than anyone in that town had ever seen. We were talking to folks in their 90s plus who said they'd lived there their whole life and they'd never seen anything like what they saw. this year in February. The amount of water, how long it took for it to go down. The highway was cut off, so no one was coming in to bring supplies. People were out of power for two or more weeks because the power companies couldn't get in to replace the lines because the highways were washed out. And there was just a sense of trauma there that people were resilient, but then as you're walking around in the Woolies and in the markets, you see people are just struggling. You can see they're just breaking down, and it was a really, really hard place. But it was a wonderful place for our volunteer teams to just come in and do some simple things and just let people know, hey, listen, you don't have to do this by yourself. Like, we can come in alongside you.
And your team, they're not professional counsellors. They are a bunch of people who are not specially qualified, but they, under obviously your leadership, they understand how to come alongside people when they're going through these, as you say, it's like sometimes this is some of the worst days of their lives, but helping people to think about recovery, not only recovery from the disaster that they've experienced, but there's a certain level of spiritual recovery that's required as well. How do the counsellors or the workers that you've got working with you get alongside people? What actually happens there?
Yeah, great question. So, none of our volunteers are that really qualified. We say anyone can come and volunteer. So what we'll do, the physical stuff, we'll teach how to properly muck out a house, or we've got some trainings to make sure people are competent at chainsaw use. Of course, we've got to have some skills depending on the work. But when it comes to the emotional side, the social, the spiritual side, what we tell our volunteers first and foremost is that we serve people, not projects. And what that means is when we come in, it's so easy to get caught up in the work because you see a flooded house and you need to get everything out to the road, or you need to clean, or you need to mop, you need all this stuff. And all that stuff's important, and we do it. But we tell people that first and foremost, we're there for people. We serve people, not projects. And when you serve people, the whole approach to the work is different. You're there. We encourage our volunteers, spend some time talking with the homeowner, with the person who's been through the disaster, hear their story, understand what they're going through, their family, their kids. We say that if you ever see a volunteer and they're standing there having a chat with the homeowner, they're doing the right thing. Like, they're the ones there because we're there for these people. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And honestly, what keeps our volunteers coming back. We've got people that are, as old as in their 80s that keep coming back. And a lot of it is because of the spiritual and the physical work. You get tired, but with the spirit, just gives people the energy to come and just keep giving out of their heart, the abundance of their heart for people.
And your foundation is the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Look, I've been on site with your team back in the bushfire recovery days in southern New South Wales, but the team starts the day with prayer. There's a really powerful way that the team unites, and it's united around a ministry role, and it's a servanthood role. Just describe what happens at the start of a day when you've got teams working in these disaster locations.
Yeah, so you're right. Every single day, we start with prayer and a devotion. And we invite all of our volunteers to join into that. We get volunteers all the time that are not Christians, they're not followers of Jesus, and that's fine. We actually love that. And no one is forced, but everyone is invited to come and take part of what we're doing. And then when we get on site and we start working with a homeowner, the first thing we do is introduce ourselves as a Christian organization. It's not we're not hiding anything. It actually says "Helping in Jesus' Name" on our shirts, on our T-shirts. So we're not hiding who we are. But we want people to be very clear and comfortable with the fact that we're a Christian organization, and this is what motivates us. Nearly every person that's here is here. One, because they do care, they want to help, but they all have had some kind of encounter with Jesus and had encountered with the gospel, and it's changed their lives. And now we want to come and just give back and share. So we will offer to pray with the homeowners. Oftentimes at the end of the job, we have a Bible that we offer them as a gift if they would like it. Some say yes, some say no, and that's fine. But we just want people to know that we care about them, not just physically, but spiritually, and we want to leave them in a better spiritual space as well as physical space.
And there's something special about what you're doing, Dan. When you can have people flying in from around the world to serve people here who are recovering from disaster. No doubt you get Aussies too flying to other places in the world when there's disaster that's unfolding. People can fly to wherever that disaster is and they can serve under the banner of Samaritan's Purse. You've got this wonderful thing that's working. You've got people coming from all over the world. Are there a few internationals here in Australia right now helping out?
Yeah, so you probably can tell apart from my accent. I'm not originally from here. I'm American. I actually came here during the bushfires in 2019, 2020. I came out with a team of Americans to just kind of lend a hand in some of the coordination of the activities. But more than anything, we're actually sending Aussies overseas. We just sent a group to work in Los Angeles with the Samaritans Purse team that's dealing with the wildfires there. We sent 4 or 5 there. We sent them to North Carolina after the big hurricane that happened the end of last year. We've got Aussies in Sudan right now. We've got them serving in Israel with the response in Gaza, all under the banner of Samaritan's Purse. So one of the things that we do like to provide for Christians is the opportunity to go and help in Jesus' name and serve in these countries around the world.
Sometimes we've done some tourist things. We've been there, seen some sights, took some photos, came home, but there are going to be people who want some level of purpose and intention when they might be serving in a situation where they're helping people to recover from a disaster. It might be a different sort of a holiday, but it's no doubt a lot of people might be thinking, well, I could spend a holiday. If my holiday coincided with a disaster that was going on somewhere in the world, I could serve alongside Samaritan's Purse. Hey, for people to connect with you, Dan, no doubt you'd like to see some more volunteers serving in our own backyard, whether it's in any of those places that have had disasters recently in Queensland like Ingham or Hervey Bay or on the Gold Coast. But you know what? This is Australia. There's another disaster just around the corner. How do people actually connect with you and become part of the Samaritan's Purse disaster recovery team?
Yeah, so we have opportunities to volunteer or to get engaged all throughout the year. So really the best way is through our website, our social media. But if you get on our website, you can sign up to receive email or text alerts when there's new opportunities arising. So for example, if we are responding to flooding or a cyclone or a fire anywhere in Australia, if you sign up, you'll just get an email or a message that says, Samaritan's Purse is responding in these areas. If you'd like to sign up and volunteer, here's a simple form to sign up for that specific project. And the same for our international projects around the world. There's on our website, you can sign up to be a part of our disaster assistance response teams that also travel internationally.
Well, there's another disaster ready to happen sometime soon, and better to be connected beforehand and know how to make your own contribution when that disaster does come. You can do that through Samaritan's Purse. Here's the website, samaritanspurse.org.au. samaritanspurse.org.au. Dan Stevens is the Disaster Relief Manager for Australia. Dan, hey, thanks so much for sharing this update with us today on 2020.
Yeah, thanks. It's been great.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.